Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, mine went blank for a second there. As always, guys, drop a like. There we go. Drop a like on the stream if you are enjoying it. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, finding it useful. It does really help out, helps grow the channel, of course, creates the community. So if you do want to become a part of it, subscribe, hit the bell, check out the Discord as well. To Elevating Traders linked in the description below. You can find updates there, chat with other traders, chat with myself, share ideas. I share some of my ideas there as well. So if you're looking to see what other people are doing in the markets or want to share your own setups, check it out. Link is in the description and also at the top of the chat. But good morning and happy Friday to everyone. What's up, lovely one? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. As always, guys, any requests that you are, any pairs you want me to take a look at, just drop it down in the chat and we shall discuss. Any time frames as well, let me know, because most of the time I'll be on the 4-hour chart, but of course, I can look at other time frames as well. But first things first, we'll go through the USD side of things. We'll take a look at the dollar, USD majors, gold and silver. And of course, we'll go through some requests and some of my watch list as well for the remainder of this week and going to next week as well. But starting things off with the dollar, things was looking pretty bearish yesterday, but we have flipped. I've been talking about push back into the low for USD back into 98, and at one point it looked like that's where price was headed. However, we have flipped around. Price is looking quite bullish this morning, and we basically failed to break through that support level. It was a slight break, but nothing confident, especially with the big wick there. That is a big red flag, and of course, followed by this momentum. It does look like support is holding pretty well. So, with momentum shifting, if I hop into the 8-hour chart, if we were to see a strong shift in the next close there, I wouldn't be surprised if we do go through another up move. I'm not necessarily favoring a reversal. The current trend on the DXY is still very much with the bears. If I zoom out, look at the bigger picture, it's still very much on a downward spiral here. So I would still be pretty bearish for the dollar. But the fact that we are rejecting the support on 3 occasions, especially the last one, does invite some upside there. How much? Not too sure, because I wouldn't be looking for anything too big, because my expectation would still be we might rally, but to form another low high to come back down again, which could still be a profitable move. Of course, maybe we do reverse. That's of course a possibility, but I am skeptical how far this move will go. So far, rejection looking very strong, so I do think more upside is likely. But how much upside? Because I'm still bearish on the dollar. I'm not confident about a big move. Same thing with euro. We did fail the highs here. Again, with euro being very corrective, failing the highs, we could still go for a bit of a drop here. This is still our last major high or low in the market. So technically speaking, we could drop, all this way, still find another high or low and still push on. And judging how corrective price is, I wouldn't be surprised if we were to do that. We're kind of operating within this channel now. This could be an area which price does gravitate towards to possibly buy back up again. So USD, looks like we are seeing some strength, which potentially could last today. Of course, we do have NFP today, so a lot can change, to be honest, because depending how the dollar reacts, all this momentum could easily be reversed this afternoon. But at the moment, we've got to play with what we have been dealt, and at the moment, seeing that rejection there as well, shift in momentum, it does look like to me that we probably could see some downside for a few hours. Again, I'm not expecting a huge sell-off. I'm still bullish on euro, still bearish on USD. So my targets are still back at the high at 1.156, but perhaps we do go through some type of correction before we do get there. So I'd watch out for that. Again, I'm not really interested in the sell because I still would anticipate it to be a pullback. I do think the bigger move is still to the upside for now. But again, we'll see what happens with NFP because all of that analysis could go out the window pretty quickly. Pound USD, however, very strong candle close. It does look like price is rejecting the highs. Now, With pound USD, I'll be a bit more skeptical with this one because we are still quite overbought and prices failing at the highs there. I would stay bullish on pound as long as we stay above this level. If price was to form like a double top here and crash back below, well, I would chalk this to a fake out. And pullbacks and then more downside would be my expectation for pound if we were to get back below 1.34, that is. So, of course, we're still a long way away from that. But that is a real possibility there for pound USD. So I would be careful with that. Looking at pound now, looking at closure, looks like we're kind of breaking out this this ascending channel here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were to push back into support here, which again could be a nice move within itself. But if we do hold, I still think the bigger move is to the upside. So for now, pound USD not looking good. Expecting to see some downside, similar for euro, expecting to see some downside. Of course, USD is looking pretty bullish. We'll see what NFP has in store, but the technicals are definitely pointing down at the moment. Strong rejection of the high. I like the wick, and a strong close below that trend line. It is definitely a bearish signal there. So pound USD not looking too good at the highs. Overall, the uptrend is bullish, but yeah, it does look like the market is pausing. Dollar CAD similar, but not as strong with the closure. We've just about hopped into this area, so I am becoming a bit more interested with the buys for dollar CAD, to be honest. As we come back into this consolidation where price did rally from, I am interested to see if I can find some buying opportunities in there. And of course, the market's had a big sell-off there, so we are a little bit stretched. And naturally, I do expect to see some type of pullback, and I might look to try and take advantage of that if my confirmations are met. I can see we're starting to lose momentum, becoming a bit more corrective, which is a good sign. Again, I would like to see price come a little bit deeper into that area before buying. So something like this would be good, and then maybe a big double bottom or some type of reversal pattern I'll be keeping my eye on. So not quite there yet for dollar CAD, but of course this morning with that close, it is implying some bullish momentum coming back into the market. Of course, we just had a look at the USD, which is looking pretty strong as well. So perhaps we do see some upside, but I'll still be wary as we come back into these areas where I would expect sellers to try and push us back down again. So dollar CAD, in terms of the immediate price action, yes, looking bullish, but structure still pointing down. So I would still stay bearish for this pair until we get back into the zone. Then perhaps there might be some buying opportunities on the way. But until then, I do still fancy a bit of an up move for some more downside for dollar CAD. Onto Aussie dollar, excuse me. Aussie dollar, another rejection at the high. This one's just being so corrective. It's absolutely beyond me. We've just been operating within this channel. Looks like price is really failing at the highs here. So to me, it looks like Aussie dollar potentially running out a bit of steam as well. Could be looking at a bit of a move to the downside there too. Typically in these big ascending channels, I'm always looking for price to break lower. Hence why I'm still waiting for a buy around this area, 0.625, 0.626. This is an area where I do feel like a major higher low could present on the daily chart. You got the left shoulder, head, looking at the right shoulder over there. So that massive head and shoulder pattern, looks really interesting to me. So if we can break lower, which I'm waiting for and have been for some weeks now, if we were to get there, brilliant. If not, it's not really a pair I'm looking at whilst we operate in these areas. As I mentioned yesterday, I think there still could be a nice buy at the low of the channel. The market has been respecting it on numerous occasions. So it's going to take a lot of momentum, a lot of energy for price to actually break through this. And if you can see strong rejection when price gets there, then that should present a nice buy. So I would keep an eye on that area there. And it looks like we're failing at the highs anyway, so I think there's a good chance we do see a push back down to that low. New Zealand dollar, again, a pair which I've been looking to buy on a breakout, but just not seeing that momentum that fills me with confidence when I'm looking to follow this. Technically, we did see a break of this resistance. That was the plan coming into the week, looking for a strong break of this resistance, a retest, then some more buys. We had the first breakout on Monday, Tuesday. That turned to be a bit of a fake out. Price closed back below. Then we had another breakout on Thursday. However, again, leaving behind some big wicks to the upside, not the sign of a confident breakout. I want to see strong closures, big candles breaking through a level, not smallish candles with exaggerated wicks. That is not a good sign. So we are technically retesting, and potentially price might find support here, but it's just not a quality setup for me to entertain. I want to see a much more commanding break of that level, more momentum, and quite frankly a bigger breakout as well. So I'm going to avoid this opportunity. I know it's retesting now. I mean, we haven't really had much of a rejection yet, so we're still waiting for that. But because of how we've had the breakout, it does lower the probability and the quality of the setup. So I'm going to stay away from New Zealand dollar, especially if USD is going to see some strength. Probably would expect us to break to the downside there. So I'll be a bit watchful there for ENZ USD. I wouldn't sell it, but I wouldn't buy it either. A bit in between a rock and a hard place there. In terms of gold, so gold, big rejection yesterday. Of course, we've got the big breakout of the channel. We had that at the start of the week. So that set the tone for gold in terms of being bullish and looking for more upside. I spoke about the retest of this area for a buy, which we just missed. There we go. By a small margin. Unfortunately, did miss that, and price had a nice reaction. Of course, in hindsight, we can see price didn't really go anywhere. We're still stuck at the highs here, which, does make things a bit awkward now with gold. Because I'm still bullish on this market. I'm still looking for a push back to the all-time high, 3,500 up at the highs here. That's still my expectation. However, we are starting to lose that momentum. So I think the next best opportunity for gold would just be waiting for price to clear the highs and see some momentum above that, because that will kind of reinstate the bullish trend, the momentum, and then some retests at the high would make sense for a breaking retest, of course. And I think that could be a nice trade there. So gold, I'm still bullish. We're looking a bit flat right now, which isn't necessarily a red flag. Just the market is consolidating. If we see a sharp break to the upside, the trend's looking healthy again, and I'll be expecting a push back to the highs. But I would refrain looking from for an entry in this area now, because we tried to break the highs. We technically did, but we didn't sustain them and provided the big wicks. That is a sign that the buyers are failing. So seeing them break the resistance would be a sign that, okay, buyers are back in control, momentum is back with the buyers, a retest, and then some buys will make a lot of sense there. So that's the best I can see now for gold. Market's a bit flat, but if we can see momentum come back in, I think that's a solid buy opportunity. And silver is looking absolutely bullish right now. I was talking about the retest of this area early in the week. Did not see that happen. And now I'm talking about the retest of this area. Of course, hasn't happened yet, but price still may come back down there for a retest. And of course, if I zoom out to the daily time frame, you can see we've broken through a major swing high, major level of resistance. So I can still see price coming back for a retest of that level. But silver looking very bullish. I've talked about 40 in terms of the big psychological level. That could be the next big target for silver. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're going to be headed towards with this next bullish cycle. But the market, in fairness, has been consolidating for quite some time now. I'm expecting momentum to come back into the market and a lot more upside. So the plan here with silver is just waiting for some healthy pullbacks, find some higher lows, and then hopefully ride that trend. But area of interest around the 35 area, just waiting for a pullback. And that's pretty much where I am at with USD. I think short term, we're looking pretty bullish. I think we can see more upside for USD, so some strength. Again, NFP can turn things around very quickly, so I have to keep an eye on that. But I am still long-term bearish. Until I see some significant break of structures or a trend reversal, I will remain bearish. Excuse me. What's up, LFTJ? Happy holiday to you as well. Good morning, Dark Sean. What is up? Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I did see that actually. DAX, they drop all the indices, had a bit of a bearish move yesterday. Yeah, after Trump fasted again and market pushed a bit further. Yeah, yeah. Of course, that's something you won't be able to anticipate. You know, when Trump will do something, and then of course the markets are going to react to that. That's difficult to anticipate. I mean, you would have the bias, which of course you would be looking to trade, but depending what happens, you know, in that space is outside of your control, and the market could, you know, give a really weird wick, and of course that could skew things up, which is difficult to kind of maneuver around. But yeah, I mean, we did see that happen. Price did take the high out. Then we did see a bit of a sell off there for the DAX. We'll go through the DAX and some other indices as well. What's up, DT? Hope you're well. DMAR, work the stream. What is up? Yeah, we'll go through NAS, Dow Jones, DAX, 5 minute. Okay, we'll go through some indices. Okay, looking for entry for next week for NFP. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, NFP could speed things up. To be honest, many times where, you know, going into a major news event, things are not looking too good. The news event happens, and then suddenly you've got an opportunity in the next day or two. So, yeah, hopefully we can see some movement. I mean, again, as a trader, I'm not really too bothered if things are going to be bullish or bearish. I just want opportunities. I want movement. So that's the real thing I'm looking for NFP today. I don't really have a bias right now because things are looking quite awkward. Just going to see what happens. I'm not in a USD pair anyway, so I'm not too concerned about what goes on with the dollar at the moment. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the indices. So we had a bit of a bearish reaction. Price wicked to the upside first initially, and then we had a bit of a sell-off towards the end of the day. Yeah, that was just before the daily candle closed, but it did come back for a solid retest. We talked about this level yesterday in terms of resistance, could be acting as support here. I wasn't too sure if price was actually going to come back to retest this. I mean, of course, this was a very sudden retest, but I believe yesterday we were trading around here, I believe. Yeah, Thursday, yeah, so around here. That was on the stream. And I talked about the retest of this area kind of half-heartedly because I was expecting price to kind of rip through the highs, really. But price did get back here. Of course, we saw what happened after the Trump fart, and now price is back to retest a solid level, 21.44, and we've kind of rallied from there. So in terms of the overall trajectory for NAS, I'm still very bullish, still expecting more upside. But again, that's more of a longer term view, especially when you drop to the 5 minute. I mean, it's not the best price action, is it, on the 5 minute, I would say. I mean, as we do come back to some of these areas, there might be some selling opportunities, but I would keep it short and sweet, really. Just because I expect the bigger move to be to the upside. If we were to push down, I wouldn't mind this area. Brief area of demand, did push price up very well. Might see a bit of a sell-off for us to buy back up again. I think that could be a nice area to look at from a bullish point of view. Bearish point of view, I like these two levels, but I need to see a lot of rejection to confirm that as a solid resistance to short from. But yeah, not biggest fan of the price action on NAS, to be honest, on the 5 minute anyway. Not really seeing a clear-cut opportunity. I like the sells there, I like the buys there, but I wouldn't say I'm overly excited about any of them, to be honest. Like I said, I expect price to make its way back to the highs here, so naturally I would be wanting to focus on the bullish side of things, but I can probably get away with some sells over the short term as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the best I've got for the NAS. Not a big fan of the price action. In terms of the DAX, okay, DAX, we had a bit of a sell-off as well, so that was the spike we were talking about, and price came down pretty hard. Let me just look at the overall picture. So, of course, fading at the highs there. I mean, DAX, there probably is still a bit of room to the downside, to be honest. But I would be careful because the market is still pretty bullish. I like this area for a buy. If price was to maybe spike back into the low here, I think that's still a nice place for a buy. We're still putting in the higher lows, and that could be the next one. So I like that area for a buy. In terms of shorts, I like this area up here around 24.37, spike back into the high, and then potentially a sell from there. Market is very, very flat, so trying to operate at the highs and operate at the lows, I would say, is the best place to do so. Trying to get involved inside of here, I think you're asking for a little bit of trouble there, because that's where the market seems to be fluctuating a lot. This is a major high, gave us a very strong move to the downside. The price kind of manipulated that same high with that kind of outburst to the upside, and then the really aggressive drop back down again. We had a quick retest over here, acted as resistance very well. We've got some highs price. Might want to go run first, take out some liquidity there, tap into that level, and then potentially might see some downside. Like I said, I still think the bigger moves to the upside here as well. So with these shorts, again, not trying to be too greedy. The market still does look overly bullish. So I'll be careful with the shorts there in terms of how long I want to hold it for. But in terms of the buys, I like the low here, right at the low. Likely to see a bit of a bounce there too. So the DAX, I don't mind. Those are the two opportunities I will be keen on. I prefer this price action a lot more than the NAS. And in terms of US 30, so this one pushed back into the high, found a bit of trouble there, couldn't manage to break through. The market's kind of squeezing in a bit of a wedge pattern here. I do think we'll see price break to the upside pretty soon. Again, with US 30, same thing with NAS. I'm looking for price to get back to the all-time high, so that's still the bigger play. The trajectory of the market most likely is probably to push back to the all-time highs. So overly, I want to be looking to buy this, but from a 4-hour perspective, I would say the price action is not looking too great. If we can get price to rip through the highs there, that makes a load of sense, and then hopefully the pullbacks will be a lot easier to read and possibly trade as well. So yeah, US 30 still bullish, but not looking great. In terms of the 5-minute chart, very flat as well, kind of similar to the DAX. Yeah, I'll probably still wait for a push back into the low here for a buy. I know we're very far away, but I don't know, maybe with NFP coming around, we might see a bit of a sell-off, and that could present a nice buy. I think this is a nice place for a long. You can see this is kind of where momentum came from last time. Nice move down, the price ripped to the upside. This is a bullish area, bullish territory. And because I'm expecting price to take up this high, kind of want to be buying at the best pace possible, which would be right down at the lows. I wouldn't want to be trying getting involved in these areas, because as we can see on average, price is just up and down, up and down, up and down. Difficult to find some solid entries with a solid stop loss and not being risked at kind of getting wicked out. Whereas here, kind of at the low, this is where you expect price to turn around if we were to see some solid rejection when we get there. So yeah, US 30, I would still say looks better than the NAS as well. I like the opportunity down here in that kind of bullish area at the low. Of course, will we see a move there? I don't know, but with NFP around the corner, we could see that push happen. I'd probably say DAX looks the best to me, but yeah, that's the best I've got for US 30 as well. But yeah, price action is becoming a lot more flat, so not the biggest fan. Okay, BTC, LFTJ, we'll take a look. No problemo. DT, what's up? 3.5 years, I literally think the markets have a full-blown anxiety area. NFP or Jerome Powell speaks. Yeah, I mean, that is the reality of it. And again, cycles do come and go. And not every time will we see NFP being such a hard hitter. There's been times where I've been trading when NFP is just a very small event, to be honest. Well, not small event in terms of the grand scheme of things, but in terms of the reaction of the market. Sometimes the NFP only gives you like a 30 pip move. Sometimes it does fluctuate. Sometimes NFP will give you some really, really big moves, 100 pips, more than that potentially as well. But sometimes it will only give you a 30 pip move as well. So there will be cycles where NFP does come into play and becomes a very meaningful event in terms of the reaction in the markets. And there will be times where it's that opposite pretty much as well. But yeah, it definitely NFP in this day and age is definitely something that can move the market quite a lot. So you do want to be cautious of that, especially if you're intraday trading, because you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that. Spreads will widen, slippage, not great. Yeah, Darkshore, very corrective. Not a big fan of the price action, I must say. John, what is good? Welcome, welcome. Yes, please do you see a continue fall for DXY? I'll go through that in a second. I do in the long term, but we might see a bit of a rally first. But I'll go through that shortly. Lauda, what's up? Good to have you in the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're well. Okay, the Growl FX expecting it to bounce back during NFP. Okay, so I'll go through BTC first, then I'll look at the DXY. But yeah, with Bitcoin, I've been pretty bearish on it, to be honest. We did sell off. I was looking to see if price can push up one more time to react with this level, but it looks like the first tap we had on Tuesday was more than enough. We put in another lower high, so we got 1, 2, 3. Of course, price sold off. It just about respected support. I did say yesterday this is a very critical level, so if price was to break through that, I would be looking at a much bigger move to the downside for Bitcoin. But we did go and respect it eventually, and we've had a pretty decent reaction from that. But again, in terms of how we're looking for Bitcoin, I mean, this is still a nice place to pick up buys, I would say. Yeah, this is still kind of our last consolidation. Price ripped to the upside. Now we're back at support. I still think this is a nice area to be looking for buys. But I want to see real momentum come now for Bitcoin, because, you know, I could probably look at this and treat it as a bit of like a correction. So if Bitcoin is going to be serious about things in terms of getting back to highs and continuing, I want to see this momentum continue and break outside the channel, similar to what we had with gold. Break through the channel, of course, break through structure as well. And that would make me bullish on Bitcoin. Then afterwards, perhaps a retest somewhere, we can ride it back to highs, so on and so forth. So Bitcoin still in a bullish trend overall, of course it is. I would still say this trend is still alive and well since support did hold. And for the most part, this bearish move is quite corrective too, which does lead me to believe that it's probably a bigger correction for us to push on. So I would expect to see, if we can break the highs, us to get back to these highs and so on and so forth. So in terms of buying the market, I would say there's two ideas. Either wait for this opportunity here, so break and retest after the breakout, or wait to see if price can roll back over, test support again, and try and catch the low. This one being the more aggressive opportunity because you're essentially trying to pick the low here, but you're at a nice support level. Trend is still on the higher time frames in your favor, so it does make sense. And of course, in terms of the risk reward and just the location of your entry, just positioned a lot better than if you waited for this position. But of course, the pros for this is that you're much safer. You're waiting for price to see that momentum, so the probability of price continuing in your favor is pretty high at that point, as long as it's not a fake out. But of course, maybe your risk reward might not be as good. You might not even get the retest. You might just see price break out and just keep flying. So there's pros and cons with both sides of the coin. But from a bullish standpoint, that's kind of how I see Bitcoin at the moment. And if price was to rally but fail at the highs here again, then that could present a nice sell and we might roll back over. So keep an eye on that as well. But if you can wait for this opportunity, I would say that really puts the odds in your favor, and we can be quite confident with that bullish bias for Bitcoin. But we'll see how we get on. It is definitely looking interesting now. Okay, so John, I'll go through DXY. Lauder. Yeah, I know, I know. Again, it's like a reality TV show, almost. He's got the massive figureheads, bumping heads, and then it causes the markets to panic, and it's quite funny, actually. But again, as traders, especially, I mean, not even just technical traders, to be fair, because even a fundamental trader, we focus on the main narratives on the market, but things like that happens very quickly, and the market's going to react very quickly. So it's difficult to try and anticipate things. What Trump is going to say with a tweet, you don't know, and then when it is tweeted, even if you're trying to look to try and trade that, the markets have probably already reacted. So you're probably late to the party anyway. But yeah, when things like that happen, it's difficult to maneuver against that, because you could be in a trade and you might just get wicked out randomly. Of course, the other side to the coin is it could push the market in your favor, of course. So the way I see it, kind of charge it to the game. Sometimes it will help you, sometimes it won't. But yeah, markets were quite volatile yesterday. And of course, we got NFP today as well, so it should be fun. Morning, Ivan. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're good. So yeah, as for the DXY, it's interesting. I've been pretty bearish all week with the dollar, looking for us to return back to 98, and that's still very much my plan with USD, getting back to the lows and seeing some new lows past that point. So my expectation is still with the bears. However, price is doing a pretty good job at respecting support here. So by the looks of things, we might bounce or rally a little bit, but I still do think that's the likely outcome. This rejection alone doesn't dictate that, okay, we're going to have a massive turn of events. Of course, it could be, but the rejection doesn't necessarily portray that. Like I said, it could turn into a big reversal. No one's to know that. But from what I'm seeing, based on the market structure I've seen earlier, things are still overly bearish. So we might bounce again, but I do think we will eventually come back down. So in terms of the overall direction for USD, for me, it's still bearish. I'm still expecting push into the low, but yes, we might see some upside. And of course, the NFP will have its say as well. So I would be watchful for that. I think in terms of trading USD, I think it would be a smart move just to stay on your, just to stay away from the market till things settle, basically until after NFP. We might have a bit more clarity there. But yeah, I'm pretty bearish with the market. It's just support is doing a very good job at supporting price right now. But I do think the bigger move is still likely with the bears. So if you could rally, maybe something like that can happen. That might be a nice short. And I still like the idea of the break and retest of this low as well. I still think that's a nice short idea, if we can, of course, eventually see the break and see the retest. But as I said, I'm not trading any USD pairs, so I'm not really too concerned about what USD is going to do this afternoon. I'm just more intrigued, more interested to see what USD does. I mean, I have been pretty bearish on the dollar, so that has been my bias. I've been looking to try and buy pairs like NZD/USD on a break and retest, and it is sort of doing that. Just the breakout wasn't fitting my criteria well. This is the level I've been talking about for the past week or so, and I said if price can break through this and get a retest, I'll be looking for some entries. But the breakout was just never really something I want to follow. Yes, we did technically break the level, but look at the big wicks there. We're kind of failing at these highs to our left, which is not a good sign either. So the quality of this opportunity is quite low. So despite the fact we are retesting right now, it's just not an opportunity which I will look to entertain. So for the most part, USD pairs, I'm staying away. Euro USD, I'm still bullish on that one as well. I still do think price can get back to the high. But again, at the moment, we're failing at structure there. It does look like we can see some downside first. Pound USD, very strong rejection this morning. At the high, strong close, breaking out this channel. That looks like we might see a rally. But again, the overall trend for pound is still up. We still cleared the resistance to our left. a couple of weeks ago. So that does still keep me bullish as long as we can stay above that 1.34 level. If price was to break below that, then I'll look to reinvestigate and possibly even shift my bias to bearish for something like that. Maybe a big head and shoulder pattern can come along. But yeah, for now, still bullish long term for pound. But I do think there is some room for us to sell. So watch out for that. In terms of the pair I'm trading at the moment, that's Aussie CHF, which is going okay. I haven't really seen momentum really come into play yet. We did see some upside, but looks like resistance to our left is respecting price, and we are becoming a little bit corrective now. So I'm going to keep a watchful eye on this trade. I might look to close it early if momentum doesn't really come through. We've got a little bit of an uptrend here. Let's see if that does sustain. Again, the whole idea for this trade is to try and catch the low of this bearish move for perhaps a continuation to the upside. We're coming from all-time lows, and I do think price has a lot of room to the upside to cover. And this is where all the bearish momentum came from. This is where we had a massive drop. I do think price is likely to come back and retest that same zone. So I'm looking to try and trade price to that area. And as I said, we've seen some nice momentum. We had a double bottom there. That's where I found my entry. But it does look like resistance is providing a lot of resistance at the moment. So if things become corrective and maybe we do break lower, I will probably look to exit and hopefully re-enter at a better opportunity. But if we can break to the upside through this high here, that's when I will look to remove risk and hopefully get back to the highs on our left. And then we can talk about that zone afterwards as well. But still a lot of work to do with Aussie CHF at the moment. Lauder, my take on JPY pairs. Yeah, JPY has been a little bit all over the place, hasn't it? It's been strong, it's been weak. It's been a bit of both, really. Again, some yen pairs I've got a good read on, and I'm liking the price action of. Like Aussie yen, I actually did get a buy signal a couple of days back over here. So I was debating looking to enter a buy for Aussie yen, but I decided not to because I was already trading Aussie CHF at the time, so I didn't want to double down on buying the Aussie. But that gave me a nice bullish signal. Reason being, we came back into a very nice level of support. On the daily chart, you can see if I drag this level across, really nice support, break below, break back above. Now price is retesting, firing a lot of wicks into that same zone. You've got a left shoulder over there, you've got a right shoulder, you've got a head, and now I'm expecting price to now rally to the upside. So the way I see it for Aussie yen, we've got a bit of an inverse head and shoulder pattern. There's your left, there's your head, there's your right shoulder, that's your neckline there. So the plan was, can we try and pick the low there, pick the high low for the right shoulder, trade it back into the high, the neckline, and possibly further. It was a pair I was monitoring this week, but like I said, I hopped into Aussie CHF instead. So for Aussie yen, I think there's some decent buys here. I think now that we've shown respect to this level, the next best opportunity is if we can break this resistance here. And if we can, there might be some nice retest opportunities to trade it back into the high, which is 95.6. So I'm very bullish on Aussie yen. We are a little bit corrective here. We are still failing at resistance, so I wouldn't be looking to buy just yet. I would want to see a strong break to the upside because, of course, we could still come back down again. So you want to be prepared for that. But a strong break above the high there kind of shows, okay, buyers are back in control. A low is likely to form. Let me look for a retest, and I'll be able to hopefully trade it back to the highs. So Aussie yen, I like. New Zealand yen, I like as well. I think this one looks pretty bullish too. So I do expect to see a push back to the high in a similar fashion to Aussie yen. I look at the higher time frames. We had a big break of structure not too long ago. This was our last lower high, which gave us that low. Price rallied to the upside, broke structure. This to me looks like the higher low. And now I think price is ready to go make a new high. So New Zealand yen looking bullish too. I like I like the way the market is. Well, it's not moving particularly amazing, but I've got a good read of price at the moment. So I like what I'm seeing there with New Zealand yen. But as I go to like pound yen, this is where things get a bit awkward. So pound yen, I'm still looking for a push to the high there, but I'm not seeing any opportunity to try and buy that either. And at the same time, I'm still kind of long-term bearish on pound yen. You can see on the weekly chart, for the past few weeks, the market's really been struggling at these prices. Look at the wicks into this area. Today's Friday as well, so it does interest me to see how this weekly candle closed, because for the past few weeks now, we haven't managed to see a successful candle close in this area on the weekly chart, hence all the wicks. And of course, today's Friday, and this candle is trading in that area. So I wonder, will we see the first close in that area, or is NFP going to send us right back down again before the week's end? And if that happens, if we see another wick and this comes back down, well, then next week I would be looking at some sells and price rolling over, because that is some really strong rejection. The chances are price is probably going to sell off. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye to see how that candle closes this week. If it does leave another wick to the upside, yeah, next week I'll be looking to try and short pound yen. But at the moment, still looking bullish for now. Like I said, I do think we can still rally back to highs. For the most part, the higher lows are still pretty consistent here, which is where the bullish bias comes from. So we probably will just see a push here. But again, we'll see what happens this afternoon with NFP. Maybe we come back down, maybe we break through. But yeah, pound yen for the most part slightly bullish, but not a big fan of the price action. Euro yen, I think same situation, slightly bullish as well. It looks like the overall kind of corrective trend here is continuing. That will probably push us back to resistance, but again, price action as a whole not looking great. And looks like CAD yen, same thing as well, trying to push the upside. Again, with CAD yen, I'm kind of just looking at this as a big consolidation. You've got equal highs there roughly, equal lows down here roughly, and the market is just kind of fluctuating between the two. I'm just waiting for price to break resistance really, or support of course, whichever way. I'm not too bothered about the direction. I'm just waiting for price to clear out this range, because I'm not looking to trade inside of it. But as soon as price gives me a solid break, that will show me okay buys in control. And now I can probably look for some pullbacks to follow that momentum. And of course, likewise to the downside, a strong break to the downside, pullbacks, and then hopefully a nice sell-off. So yeah, CAD yen looks like we're edging towards the upside, but we're still within a range. So when we get there, we could still very much sell off again. And yeah, as long as we stay in that range, I'm not really interested in price that much. But yeah, that's kind of my take on the yen pairs. I mean, if I have a look at the yen basket quickly, just look at the yen in its purity. So yeah, the yen basket is still being pretty consistent with the highs, isn't it? I think that's the main part as to why we could probably still see a push back down. Oh, wrong tool. That's why we could still see a push back down to the lows, but yeah, we could very much bounce there. So I would be favoring some more weakness for the yen basket, so more upside for the yen pairs. So weakness for the yen basket means weakness for the yen. So I do expect the yen pairs to push up, but long term, I don't really have a bias right now for the yen. We are a little bit too flat. Locks. Gold is where it's at. Okay, we'll take a look at gold. And do you only focus on trading gold then? Is gold the pair you always look to trade? I haven't traded gold in a while actually. Yusuf, good morning, my man. Hope you're well. I'm doing good. Thank you. Thoughts on pound USD? Yes, we'll take a look at that. Okay, but stopped yourself because of the wick in the 4 hour. Nice. I see you're learning from your previous trades there. No problem, Lauder. Happy to help. Okay, gold's your place. Wicked. Okay, we'll take a look at gold. So yeah, I'll go through gold and then I'll take a look at pound USD there. So yeah, gold. I do like gold. It's a pair that does move a lot. Fairly clean. Doesn't waste time normally. And of course, in this climate, has been very, very bullish. So I do like gold as a whole. But yeah, in terms of right now, I mean, the price action is a bit flat, so I wouldn't be doing anything really with gold until I see a break of the high at 33.91, because then that would tell me, okay, gold buyers are back in town, we're looking strong again. This uptrend is likely just to continue, and we'll probably push back to highs, and especially taking into consideration what day it is today, NFP day. I think, especially today, it makes a lot of sense not to trade within this range, because the chances are the liquidity below it and maybe above it as well is going to be at risk today, especially with NFP initially comes in. Price tends to actually go both directions before actually picking the direction it wants to continue in. So be careful of that. Especially if you're going to be on the intraday timeframes, and especially when the market's already ranging. It's kind of asking for trouble there. So with gold, I am still bullish, looking for upside. 3,500 is my expectation for gold. But in terms of an opportunity, I think this makes the most sense, because then you've got the breakout. Maybe NFP is done, it gives you the breakout. Then you can wait for the dust to settle, pullbacks, and then hopefully a big swing opportunities on the cards there. Or even if you want to keep it intraday, that still would be a nice place for a buy. So yeah, gold very bullish, but I think NFP can make things a bit tricky today. If it was a regular day, you might be able to find some opportunities short term, but I think the closer we get to NFP, especially if you're on the lower time frame, it might be best just to even call it a day, to be honest. Or if you are going to look for opportunities, maybe wait for NFP to settle first. Okay, so I'll go through pound for Yusuf again. Any pairs you guys want me to take a look at, drop it in the chat and we will discuss. Lauder, pound NZD and pound Aussie. Okay, coming right up. Let's take a look at pound first. So you did stop yourself from taking a trade because of the wick, and I definitely applaud that, Yusuf. Because again, with trading, especially discretionary trading, you're looking at the market, and the market each time is going to give you somewhat of a unique setup. The rules will stay the same. You have trend lines, support, resistance, candlestick patterns. They're all the same, but of course, there's always going to be a slight difference to every trade you'll take. But the underlying rules are going to be the same. And because each setup is going to be slightly different, there will be different signs and different red flags or green flags even of why you should take a position or should not take a position. And especially if you're going to be looking to follow an uptrend, and on the higher time frame, you're seeing aggressive wicks at a level, that's a big sign to probably not follow that trend, because we're seeing very exaggerated rejection at the level. The chances are you probably see a bit of a dip. Again, nothing's 100%, but you have to work with probability. What's the probability of price ripping through the high versus probably pushing down? Well, I would say the push down is a bit more likely. So as a result, I would refrain from trying to take a buy. If we were to break above this area and put some wicks to the downside, well, that would be a green flag for the trade, and that would give you a bit more confidence to buy it. But yeah, I do definitely applaud that, Yusuf, because that's when you're thinking on the spot, looking for quality in your opportunities, not blindly just taking a trade just because maybe it does fit the rules. But when you're getting clear red flags like that, that's definitely a sign to at least be cautious, lower risk if you still want to take the trade, or maybe just not take the trade at all, and probably saved yourself unnecessary loss there. So definitely congrats for that. But yeah, in terms of pound, I am still bullish on this one longer term, but it doesn't look like price is managing to break resistance there. So I think in terms of buying the market again, at least from a 4 hour point of view, I'll wait for us to return to support or go and break through resistance here. Other than that, it looks like we could probably sell off. In terms of pound NZD, yeah, so I'm pretty bearish on pound NZD. I do think we can see a pushback into the lows here, 2.215, and I'm basically looking at a big head and shoulder pattern. So you got the left shoulder over there, you got the right shoulder over there. Of course, that is your head. So left head, right shoulder, and price rejected that resistance very, very well. So now I do expect us to keep falling, push back into 2.215, and probably even further as well. We broke through the COVID highs not too long ago. I do think this trend is coming to not necessarily an end, but at least a bigger pullback, because the market's just not going to trend like this forever, especially when it's this corrective. It is going to have a bigger pullback at some point, and I do think that some point is around the corner, especially when we're forming lower highs as we've done so. So yeah, with pound NZD, this is where I do expect us to end up in the next few days, back at 2.215. In terms of an opportunity, there was a nice break and retest here on the lower time frames. Solid support once, twice, third, fourth, even fifth slightly. Then we did crack that level, use it as resistance. You could argue we used it as resistance recently there as well. And it looks like it's still holding price. So as long as we stay below this level, at 2.25, I would stay bearish and look for that drop. Yeah, with this being the high, I would expect price to return to the lows. So yeah, pound NZD very bearish on, and pound Aussie very bearish on as well. Of course, they're very similar markets, so 9 times out of 10, my bias is going to be the same for both of them. I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of pound Aussie. I think pound NZD looks a little bit clearer. Pound Aussie, we've come back into the high here on the left. We've respected it pretty well. This is the high which gave us this low. So in terms of bearish structure, we do really need to respect this area. Things are going to stay bearish, which of course so far we are doing. So that's good from a bearish standpoint, but the way we're selling off is very corrective, which doesn't give me a load of confidence that we are going to see that big drop, because we've been very corrective on the way up. So my anticipation was that we're probably going to see a pretty strong move down. Typically when price is correcting like this, that's not what happened there. We are normally going to break pretty strong to the downside. So the fact that we are correctively moving up and then correctively moving down doesn't mean we can't move lower. It just means that I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to have another rally back to resistance first. So something like this could happen before we do drop, which, to be honest, is something you probably want to happen, because if you're looking for a good entry and you're looking to sell the market, I would argue this is definitely not the place to be looking to try and short anything. So if we could get a push to the upside, that might give us the opportunity to find some healthy entries with some healthy stop losses to actually take advantage of the move. But it's the same situation in the higher time frames for pound Aussie. If I zoom out, look at the bigger picture, we've got the COVID highs from here, 2020. Price ripped through that. And I do expect us to have a bit of a mini sell-off from that. The trend is still up, but we could still come back, retest some structure before continuing. And that sell-off could be very much worthwhile to look to trade. So pound Aussie, bearish bias as well. In terms of an opportunity, I would suggest that looks like your best bet, especially with the corrective way we're selling off here. But as long as we don't break through 2.1, I remain bearish for pound Aussie, looking for a push back into the low. So yeah, that's kind of my expectation for pound Aussie. I've been favoring Euro Aussie a lot more. I was actually debating entering a Euro Aussie short at the start of the week with Aussie CHF, but Aussie CHF looked a little bit better. But then again, Euro Aussie as well, very corrective on the way down, hasn't really set the market alight there. So that does worry me for Euro Aussie. We might see another swing to the upside here, which no big deal, because we might see one more swing before we see the drop. For the most part, as long as we stay corrective on the way up, I am looking for a sell. So if the market does rally one more time, that might just give us another entry to take the trade. And the expectation is still push back into the low. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with some of the crosses. Follow the trend. What is up? Happy Friday, my man. Hope you're well. Yeah, NFP day. What's up, Tony Gold? Time to see some fireworks. Israel, what's up? Hope you're good. Euro pound. Okay, we'll take a look. Follow the trend. Thoughts on gold around 33.23. Nice support. Was it okay? Resistance retesting down the trend line. Okay, we'll have a look at gold as well. Follow the trend. No problem, Lauder. Happy to help. Okay, so I'll go take a look at Euro pound, then I'll go through gold. So yeah, Euro pound. This one looks like it's still trying to fight to go higher. We do have some resistance here, which we do need to break through. I did say that I like the buys for Euro pound from down here. I was kind of looking to see if we can get a double bottom, but it doesn't look like price is going to push down, at least for now anyway. It might still push down. We might just top and then push down there. But I like the buys from the low here. Really nice consolidation, ripped to the upside. So this was something I did have my eye on this week, but of course the week is already almost over. We're trading up there, so I doubt I do get the setup, but I'll probably roll this opportunity until next week. But yeah, there is some resistance which price is struggling at. If I drag this level across, you can see prior resistance there, nice move down. You can see price is having a hard time breaking through. So I'm anticipating another push into the low and then some buys from that area, and that's the opportunity I'm looking to try and capitalize on. I think if you're looking to sell Euro pound, then I think shorts at the high still look good, because essentially you don't want to see price break this area as a seller. Because if the market does break this area, then it looks to me that price is breaking structure and we probably are going to trend higher. So as a seller, you want price to kind of respect this area. So another drive into resistance, maybe a nice wick through the area, could present a nice entry signal. Entries like that, stops above the high, and then potentially you might get a nice swing to the downside at that point, and then hopefully I might be able to take some buys back up again. Because can't control my mouse today. And hopefully take some buys back up again, because if I expand to the higher time frame, I'm looking at this market structure here. Low, high, low. There's your new high. So looking to potentially buy from that consolidation where all that momentum came from, and hopefully take a buy from that area. So in terms of the higher time frame, we are in bullish territory. Coming back into a low like this is where the buyers will be sitting, or where they have sat before, which provided us that big move. So naturally, as we come back into this level, buys do make sense, but of course we're not there yet. So looking for a push down first, then hopefully some buys later on. But yeah, that's the plan for Euro pound. We'll go through gold next. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Lauder got taken out. EJ. Okay, yesterday I was already short on the pay. Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember. But yeah, I think the shorts still look good as a whole. Like I said, as long as we can respect this 0.845 level, I think the shorts still make sense. Of course, depending on your entry and how you look to get into a trade and your own confirmations, that'll be up to you. But in terms of the sell bias, I would still be looking for a push down as long as this level holds. So maybe keeping an eye on Euro pound. There might be some more selling opportunities later on, which might give you a nice trade, which you're after. But if we do break that, then yeah, I wouldn't be looking to sell it, at least not immediately anyway. So I would keep an eye on that. But in terms of gold, follow the trend. You said Fulton goes by around 33.23. Whereabouts is that? Okay, so that's about here. On the daily seems a nice support and resistance zone and a retest of that downtrend line. Okay. Yeah, we did kind of rally through there, didn't we? With some momentum. So, Yeah, I mean, I was actually looking at that area at the start of the week, to be honest. As we had the breakout to the upsides here on Monday, I was looking for the retest of this area, but we came very close to it on Tuesday with that wick, and then price, of course, had the miniature rally, fell at the highs, and now we're kind of consolidating. So I don't mind it. I don't favor it though, because it's kind of like price is putting a bit of a double top in right now for gold. So if I was to see price break support here, that would be a bit more of a bearish signal to me, rather than a bullish one, or in terms of me trying to catch a high low. I still think it's a nice place for a buy because we did consolidate there briefly. You know, price broke to the upside with a lot of momentum. Yes, it does make sense for a buy. But I like this opportunity a lot more just because at that point I've got the conviction to the upside through the highs, which once price failed at. So it now tells me that the buyers are really back in control because they did try to break the high yesterday but failed. Now they've managed to do that. So looking to follow that momentum, I'll be a lot more confident doing that. And then of course targets back at the high. But in terms of the direction, I do agree buys with gold still look good. Personally, I'm focusing on this a little bit more because I just think the break of the high there will really show that the buyers are in control. And if we can find a retest, I think that'll be a really nice opportunity. I think this area still looks good as well, but because we're kind of failing at the highs there, it does put me off the setup a little bit. That's just me kind of with my gut instinct a little bit more, rather than kind of like a hard reason why I wouldn't take the trade. But this is something I'm focused on as well. But yeah, we might see that happen as well, especially with NFP. Could see price wick to the downside, tap into that area, and then push. So I might want to consider that as well, because you might see price kind of flush the lows a little bit and then push up. But yeah, gold buys look good as long as we don't break through that area. So as long as I don't see this happen, that would make me pause with my bullish bias. But as long as we don't crack through both of those levels, I do remain bullish on gold. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that one. And yeah, yesterday I did have a discussion on Twitter. Not too sure if anyone was there for it, but I did have a discussion on Twitter with some other people about prop firms, the future with AI as well. And of course, I was discussing the project which I've been referencing, which will be live in a couple of weeks' time, which involves traders utilizing tools powered by AI, custom indicators, bots, automated trading bots, developing your own strategy, back testing, optimizing a strategy, and potentially also looking at how we could use AI to build our own strategy from scratch as well. And also working on a new prop firm as well, a prop firm that focuses on trading on a decentralized exchange as well, which we're looking to launch probably a couple months, a month or two after the launch of the project Zentrix, which will coming out soon. I can drop the link to the page actually. It's not live yet, but it will be looked to be live in the next couple weeks. So check it out if you are interested, if you're looking to see how AI can help with trading, how you can utilize it, whether you want to create automated bots or if you want to potentially develop your own indicator as well. Do check that out and get ready for that. But I'll be doing more discussions, more information regarding that project over the next few days. What's up, High Elf? Missed the live on X yesterday. Is there a link to that? Yes, there is one actually. I can get you the link now because the live recording is recorded permanently on Twitter. One moment, please. Okay, I've got the link. So yeah, that's the recording of it. You can check it out if you want. But it's just discussing about prop firms, future prop firms. There are a lot of people who are new to prop firm trading, so they were just asking general questions about how prop firm works and how it can benefit them, and how prop firms looking to expand in the future as well, and of course how AI can help traders as well. So yeah, check it out if you want to. Excuse me. But yeah, in terms of my watch list, I mean, of course, the week is pretty much over. So the watch list I have now is a bit more towards next week. There will be probably some changes on the weekend, because the weekend is when I have a complete run through the market from A to Z, looking at weekly candle closures as well. And that's when I really kind of cement my watch list for the upcoming week. But because I do trade in the higher time frames, the 4 hour chart, I kind of have a rough idea of what pairs I'll be looking to focus on for next week anyway. With USD, I'm going to kind of wait for NFP to happen, dust to settle, weekly candles to close, and then I'll look to sort my bias out. So I'm not so prepared to give out a bias just yet with the USD pairs, especially when such a big event is happening pretty soon. So I'll give that a miss. In terms of the yen pairs, I'm keeping a close eye on euro yen shorts. I'm looking to see what we can do up at the high at 165. If I can see a solid enough rejection, I will give it a stab for a short. Now, this is a bit more of an aggressive trade because trend is arguably to the upside, and the market has been kind of pushing on the higher time frames for a while. But I do think the bigger move is still down. I do think the market's likely to top out, whether it's at the high here or the high up there. I do think we are coming to some areas where we can turn around. So I'm trying to see if I can anticipate a high forming and take advantage of that. My first attempt will be at this high here. Second attempt will be at the high up there, if this, of course, the first attempt doesn't play out. But as I said, a bit more of an aggressive trade, so be watchful of that. Yeah, it's a bit more of an aggressive trade, so be watchful of that. But in terms of euro yen, I like the shorts. Other yen pairs, not so much, to be honest. I think euro yen's the best one for me. I mean, pound yen maybe. I think I'll wait for everything to close for the week before I do look to see if I want to short pound yen as well. But I think I'm happy with just focusing on euro yen. I like the price action a bit more. But there might be some nice shorts there for pound yen, especially depending how the weekly candle closes for this one. That will kind of make up my mind too. But pound yen, I do think the longer term move is down, whether it's going to be from this high or price is going to potentially rally back to highs up here. I do think there's a big sell to be had, but it's not quite ready yet. So yen pairs, a bit of hit and miss, but I think euro yen looks the best to me. I still do like New Zealand CAD. This is a pair I've been waiting on for quite a while. It's been very, very slow, very, very flat. It's probably the most sideways market out there at the moment in the Forex world. So not looking too great, but I do think there's a big move to be had with New Zealand CAD to push back to the high here at 0.83339. I want to see price have a bit of a sell-off back into the lows. If I do get long on this position, is because price is at the low here. And if price can spike into the support level, I do think we can turn around and push back into that high. So with New Zealand CAD, again, the overall pattern I'm looking to trade is the massive V shape we've got going on here. Massive sell-off, massive recovery. Now just looking at a correction of that and then a continuation. And that's the idea behind the trade. But if I'm going to look to buy that, I want to be right at the lows, optimal entry, optimal stop loss, away from the noise, which is all of this. And hopefully I can take advantage of that swing. But if we stay in the range, I'll leave it alone. Aussie CAD I'm interested in as well. I think there's a big move to the upside to be had as well. Kind of looking at double bottom. But the situation with this trade is I do need to be either out of Aussie CHF or Aussie CHF needs to be break even, because I don't want to double up with the Aussie pairs. Because I'm already buying Aussie CHF, so kind of banking on some Aussie strength coming to the market anyway. I don't want to double up on that, so I would wait for that for my Aussie CHF trade at the moment to be a break even, or I'm out the trade for maybe a small win or a loss or whatever it is, as long as I'm not kind of increasing my risk on the same currency. But yeah, coming back into a very strong low. Again, nice move to the upside. We're trading in that area again. I do think here we can turn around, especially with how corrective price is on the way down. This is a very corrective move, which typically means we're probably going to continue in the opposite direction, pulling back into a rough area of demand here as well. And it's just a very healthy retracement. So likelihood is that we probably push higher up, and especially with my bias on New Zealand CAD as well. New Zealand CAD is pretty bullish. I do think price can push on with New Zealand CAD, so that means Aussie CAD should probably push as well. So this pair is something I'm looking at, but until I can manage that Aussie CHF trade, I won't be looking for entries. And then in terms of the crosses, again, Euro Aussie, I still like the look of as well, but similar situation with the Aussie situation in terms of I need to kind of be managed with that position first before I do get into Euro Aussie. But it's the same idea, looking for a big drop. I was kind of expecting us to sell off already, but we've been very corrective on the way down. It looks like support is holding, so now we might rally again. And if that's the case, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully find some new entries for a big sell. But I am looking at a big short here for Euro Aussie. I think there's a lot more downside to be seen there at 1.72. And I would say that's about it, to be honest. Of course, I've got my trade in Aussie CHF, which I'll manage, but not a lot to talk about there. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. Oh, yeah, different time zones. Yeah, I'll probably be live again, probably sometime in the future, maybe next week or the week after, again with those guys. So I'll put another link up for that. But it is recorded, so it's not like you guys completely missed out on it, because if you still want to check it out, you can play the recording if you want to. But yeah, I will be probably back on another time as well, and I'll give you guys a heads up for that too. So not to worry. But again, I will wait for the weekly candle to close to really cement my bias for a lot of these things. But in terms of the USD pairs, things can change very, very quickly. So I don't wanna say anything just yet in terms of what I'm looking to do, because quite frankly, I'm open to ideas. I'm open to suggestions. Because pound USD, the reason why I'm not looking to buy this one is because it's quite stretched already, especially as a swing trader who's looking to try and hold trades for a few days. If things go very well, maybe even a couple of weeks. I wouldn't really want to be buying pound USD trying to hold this for a few days or a couple of weeks. If I was on an intraday time frame and I can be in and out within the same day or maybe a couple days, yeah, I might be able to take advantage of some buys here. But this market's very stretched, so I'm not really a big fan of looking to take buys on pounds, especially after taking a major high as well. Dollar CAD as well, we've already had a lot of downside. The market sold off quite a lot. Now we're coming into an area of demand here. So again, I'm not really looking to try and sell dollar CAD anymore. I might still be bearish in terms of the trend and the market structure. But as we approach an area like this, I do need to be a bit more cautious. We can, of course, break through, but I'm not to know that until that does happen. So as we do approach these areas, I probably will be shifting my bias more towards the bullish side of things, looking for a counter trend play. But yeah, I'll probably will be focusing more on the buys. I mean, Aussie dollar, I'm still liking the buys here, but again, I want to see that dip first. I'm not going to be buying it in these areas. I do want price to have a bit of a sell-off first before I do take any longs. So yeah, I have to be very patient for that. But it all does come back to what the dollar wants to do. At the moment, holding support very well, so I'll be patient with that. And I will be live again later today, actually, with Trader Nick. I forgot about that, on his channel. So go check that out. I think that will be just after NFP, actually. 2:45. No, well, actually about an hour and 15 minutes after NFP. But yeah, well, hopefully we'll see what happens with NFP there, and of course see what happens with my trade. I mean, I am trading Aussie CHF, which is not directly impacted with USD or NFP, but pretty much all pairs will move with NFP, so no one's safe really. But Aussie CHF is not at the forefront. It's going to move a bit. I'm not expecting anything too crazy. Touch wood, I might have just jinxed myself there. But again, there's nothing really for me to do in terms of managing this trade. The only thing that I want to see happen is the break of the high, so I can trail stops back to break even and then go from there. But it's been a bit of a quiet week. I mean, I did get a setup on Aussie Yen as well and Euro Aussie, so I technically had 3 setups this week, but they're all aligned with the same pairs. So I only just picked one, but apart from that, USD pairs haven't really shaped up. Yen pairs haven't really shaped up. A lot of the crosses haven't. CAD pairs have been very flat. I know pound CAD, we did see a bit of momentum with this one. It does look like we're slowly pushing down, so I think maybe pound CAD is starting to take shape. Euro CAD has been so flat, still within the range. I thought maybe the euro interest rates yesterday might have got this one rolling, but nope, that's still very flat. And of course you got New Zealand CAD, very flat there, and then of course Aussie CAD for the most part pretty flat as well. So CAD pairs not really of interest. Again, maybe waiting on a bigger news event to get the ball rolling. Ahmed, BTC and ETH, yeah, so Bitcoin, I think there's a bit of life coming into Bitcoin. I said in terms of a buy, I think the best opportunity would just be waiting for price to break resistance here, and then looking for some type of retest. I think that's the highest probability in terms of finding a nice buy opportunity and following the trend, because at that point you've seen momentum come back into the market, similar to what we've had with gold, breaking out that channel, and of course we're respecting support, so that's a good thing for the buyers as well. And then of course we can talk about some retests, and the likelihood of us returning back to highs would be pretty high. So that would be my expectation with Bitcoin. Yeah, as of now, it's a bit 50-50 in this channel. I mean, we did get that sell, which we were mentioning yesterday. And of course, if you push into the up end of the channel again and start to find resistance there again, of course, we could see another sell. So we're in this channel. I think the buy is still the best bet with Bitcoin. The overall trend is still to the upside. I would still be bullish on Bitcoin just about. I said as long as price remains above support here, I remain bullish for Bitcoin. The moment we break through this, I do think we are probably going to go for a bit of a sell. So far, the support is still holding, which just about keeps me bullish. So this is a nice idea for BTC. We'll see if that does come around. A lot needs to happen before that does materialize, but I think that's the best setup I can see. Buys at the low here makes sense as well, just a slightly more aggressive take. In terms of Ethereum, I think that's still consolidating, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, did have a bit of a sell, but it's essentially respected support there. It has closed a little bit lower than normal, but it's still within the wick, so I would still call that to be within the range. If it closed that side of it, then yeah, that's different, but we're still within the wicks. So yeah, for the most part, Ethereum's still within the range. As I said yesterday, I'm not confident with the bullish price action with Ethereum at all. I do think price is probably more likely to sell off back to lows actually, rather than continue and be in a massive uptrend. Based on how price is moving, Ethereum doesn't fill me with a load of confidence, unfortunately. Again, as I also said earlier, it is a range at the end of the day, so the breakout to the upside versus the break to the downside is just 50-50. Even if I do have a bias of where I'm expecting price to go, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because what does matter is where do we break out and where do we see opportunities. I might be bearish, but if we see a solid break to the upside, well, I think the bias will look good at that point. So the bias doesn't really matter until we see the movement. But what I would say is, because I do have that bearish bias, I would be a lot more confident taking this opportunity versus this opportunity, because I don't expect this to go too far. But yeah, Ethereum right now consolidating. I would wait for us to clear the low or clear the high, and then opportunities become a lot easier to spot. You can trade within the range if that's your plan as well. Buying low, selling high, not really my forte, but there's opportunities there as well. But yeah, personally, if I was looking to get involved with Ethereum, this is what I'd be waiting for. Or of course, if we break higher, that's what I'll be waiting for as well. But at the moment, we're doing neither. So I'll be sitting on my hands. I think BTC, in terms of the trend, looks a lot better. So yeah, I'll be focused on trying to follow that. No problem. Happy to help. Yeah, I did go through some of the indices. I haven't gone through S&P yet. But yeah, the indices were a bit crazy yesterday, weren't they? I feel like with the indices, they're so kind of like vulnerable to like Trump tweets and just little kind of, just fluctuations in social media, really. And in terms of news headlines too. In FX, of course, you'll see those reactions as well, but not as much. I feel like gold indices, they can be very volatile with very, very slight kind of news releases. Especially like on a 5-minute chart, you can see price really go to town. No problem. Naveed CAD. Okay, USD CAD. I'll take a look at USD CAD, which of course is just the opposite of that, but same markets. Ameth, good morning. Welcome. Hope you are well. But yeah, I mean, with some of the indices, as I mentioned earlier, I haven't looked at the S&P yet, but yeah, that had a bit of a dip, didn't it? Looks like it came back to respect this area. Now looking bullish. So I do think we're just going to see price continue to the upside at this point. Nice area of demand. It's being respected very well. We've got these higher lows. As long as price can remain true to that, I do think the S&P is just going to go and break highs. We did respect it very well yesterday. Of course, all those wicks. So we've had a lot of trouble trying to break through this high. But essentially, the S&P is just kind of squeezing in this area, and I do expect it to explode higher. And a good reference point is, as long as we can respect this area, we are likely to break to the upside. If we do break the low here, well, again, I wouldn't necessarily be bearish, but I would relax that bullish bias and just wait for the market to develop, and maybe I might find a better opportunity later on. But for now, this area is holding pretty well. I think maybe if we can sell off back into that zone, then there could be a nice buy. Of course, we've got NFP this afternoon, so I think a nice opportunity would be if we can kind of have like a bit of a miniature sell-off. Price kind of spikes lower, start to find support, and then we rally from that. That would be a nice buy opportunity, actually. But of course, you want to be careful. I'll wait for the dust to settle from NFP before finding any positions, especially on like an index like the S&P. But that's what I'm expecting on the 4-hour chart. For NAS 100, looking pretty bullish as well. We had a lovely rejection of resistance. We were talking about this level here the past couple of days. Lovely resistance there. Briefly over there as well. Acted as support very nice this morning, actually. Early hours of the morning / late hours of yesterday. Again, I think that's a solid place for a buy. Similar to the S&P, you got this trend line running through the market with these higher lows. One over there, second over there. That would be the third. And of course, a push back into the high. I'll watch out for that resistance because it is rejecting price pretty well. But I do expect us to break through and make our way back to the all-time high at 22,200. So, and we're not too far away from it as well. We're actually very, very close to the all-time high. So I think give it a few days, we'll be trading at those highs in no time. So yeah, NAS very bullish on, respecting really nice support. We've got those higher lows prices keeping up with. So if you can anticipate another one of those, fantastic. Maybe NFP might give us that kind of anticlimactic sell into support and then rally onwards. I think that would be the best possible situation. Of course, maybe we just see price explode to the upside without us. That could be a situation as well. But as long as we can hold this confluence, I would remain bullish, on NAS. And in terms of US 30, similar idea, but this one's just a little bit more choppy. We're not really getting to resistance with this one, but again, if we can clear the highs at some point, I think some pullbacks afterwards will make for some good opportunities. And then again, just like NAS, just like S&P, I expect us to get back to the all-time highs and just continue this uptrend. So US 30 looking pretty good, NAS looking pretty good, even better. S&P looking good, even better as well. But yeah, indices to me looking very, very bullish. How would you position for NFP? Bad news, or bad news, good news? Selling every dollar yen. Yeah, I wouldn't really try and do that. Again, I'm not the type of trader to try and position myself for NFP. Again, my focus is always on the setup and the technicals, because at the end of the day, that's where my edge lies. I'm not doing anything different for NFP other than just being cautious that I'm not entering any trades directly into the news, because that's you're going to be in front of widened spreads, and chance of you getting slipped out is a lot higher as well. So I don't want to be doing that, getting involved just before the news comes out. So that's the only kind of core precaution I take. In general, especially on the 4-hour chart, if I try to tiptoe around every major news event, I'll be in and out trades quite a lot, and I'll barely be able to hold a swing. Most of my better trades do play out over 4 or 5 plus days. So if I'm going to be looking, try and capitalize on a good position, by default, I'm going to be holding the trade for probably around at least a week. And again, if I'm going to cut the trade loose just because one, you can please not spam the chat. I'm going to have to remove you if you keep doing that. I will take a look at EuroCAD though. But yeah, as I was saying, if I do have to exit a trade early just because the news comes out, then I'm not going to be able to take advantage of a big move. But in terms of position myself for NFP, I don't do that. I don't really try to anticipate what NFP is going to do. That's not part of my game. My game is focus on my setup, trade the setup. Maybe sometimes NFP will help my trade. Sometimes NFP will not help my trade, and I'll get stopped out. My mentality is just focus on the setup, focus on the edge, and let the edge do the heavy lifting. So I don't try and position myself to try and trade NFP. That's not a part of my game. I mean, it's a good question though, because if you do have an edge around NFP, you can try and trade that. But yeah, I don't really see much consistency there, so I wouldn't do that, to be honest. But in terms of USD CAD, and then I'll take a look at Euro CAD. So yeah, USD CAD for the most part, I am still pretty bearish. I still think there's a bit more downside to be had. I'm looking for price to come back into this zone, which is where all the momentum came from. No problem, I'm happy to help. So this is where all the momentum came from, and we had that big rally to the upside. So essentially, I want to see price come back down here again, because I think this is a great place to be looking to buy the market. At the same time, you can see we had a bit of a reaction this morning. So we had a semi-strong close there. It's not really a big candle in the grand scheme of things, but looks like momentum's picked up a little bit for the buyers. So we might see a bit of a rally for dollar CAD, but I do think the bears are still very much in control of this market. This one bullish candle doesn't change the trajectory of the whole market, does it? I mean, it could do. It could do. We're not 100% sure on anything with the market, but we have to deal with probabilities. And this rejection here is probably not going to be the reversal, the undo of that trend there. So my expectation is that we're probably still going to see more downside. So maybe you do rally for a little bit. Maybe you do see some upside. Maybe NFP is a bit bullish for the dollar. Who knows? But I would expect us to keep selling off. I also like this area here too. I think if price was able to push back into this zone, I think that's also a nice place for a short as well. So the bigger picture, dollar CAD is pointing down. I like the trend here. I think some sells could be looking good if we were to see that pullback. If not, if price was just to dump to the downside, then we can see how price reacts with this area. Maybe we might take advantage of some nice counter trend opportunities, but that's probably more so for next week. I mean, even this might even be for next week as well, to be honest. Might take us a day to get there, but yeah, dollar CAD still see a bit more downside, but we are coming back into some big bullish areas on the higher time frame where I do think we can reverse from. So be careful as we hit those zones. But for now, I do think there's a bit more downside to be had for dollar CAD. In terms of euro CAD, extremely flat pair, extremely flat. Not a lot going on with this one. I mean, as I was talking about this one yesterday, I mean, the plan for EuroCAD is I'm still looking for a bit more downside because the market is quite stretched. We've been bullish since the low of September, August 2022. So actually for quite some time now, we've been in a bit of a rally. We've of course had a big breakout of this consolidation, but I do think we can have a bit of a pullback and retest that area, especially when we look to the left and see where we are trading in. Last time we were here, it's a massive sell-off from that same zone. So we are coming into some big areas of resistance supply where I do think we can sell off a little bit. At the moment, the market is very flat, so I'm not seeing any opportunity at the moment to trade that. What I would want to see from EuroCAD would be a strong break to the downside, and then hopefully we can talk about a retest somewhere, so price coming back into that same zone, retest that structure, then we get a sell. I think that would be a nice opportunity for EuroCAD. But I would want that to be a very strong break, clear the lows here to our left to really show momentum is back into the market. Then we can find a retest somewhere. And of course, don't necessarily have to be looking to target the low there. There's some lows here you can look to try and secure some profit on, and that will be up to you to decide. But yeah, EuroCAD, I think it's a market that's a bit stretched and is probably need of a down move here, especially you can see with how much sideways price action we're getting is probably because the trend is finding it really difficult to continue. So I think the path of least resistance probably would be a bit of a sell, and us to go and attack some of the lows there. And then maybe we do continue to the upside. I'm not saying I'm expecting a massive reversal, but I do think we can see a little bit of a retracement at least. So that is the idea there. Same thing for pound CAD, which of course is a very similar pair to EuroCAD. When I do look at EuroCAD, I do tend to have an eye on pound CAD, see what that's doing, because I don't really want them to be in contradiction of one another. Pound CAD looks particularly bearish, but EuroCAD looks particularly bullish. Something's up there. Probably would want to stay away. If they're both looking bearish or both looking bullish, that's definitely a positive. When things are correlated and doing the same thing, it's normally an added bonus that the likelihood of that bias is going to play out. If you can look at all the USD pairs and all the USD pairs look like good buys, that's a good thing for the trade. If you look at all the USD pairs, some look bullish, some look bearish, bit of a contradiction between quite a few of them, well, there's probably a lot of indecisiveness in the market. It's probably not the best opportunity to take. So having correlated pairs give you same bias, give you the same opportunity, closely related anyway, that's definitely positive for the trade. And that's the same case here with pound CAD. a lot of wick to the upside. You can see prices really struggling at that level. And I do think there's a lot of room for us to drop into. Of course, we've got major resistance to the left here. This will be turn support. I do think we can see a push into that same zone. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, you can see price, of course, if I just remove this out of the way, you can see price had that consolidation last week, and then we had that drop. Now it looks like price is retested, and perhaps we could see price continue to fall. So yeah, pound CAD pointing in the same direction too. Excuse me. And I do think price can still look to sell off. Not the best price action in the world, I must admit. I'm not the biggest fan of the price action here with pound CAD. I would be bearish on the pair, but not enough for me to actually look to sell it, to be honest. I would be careful as we approach into some of these areas, because that's where the higher low is going to be lurking. And we might go up against us. But yeah, for the most part, pound CAD is looking pretty bearish. So I do think we can still see a lot lower prices. But the funny thing is, when I look at New Zealand CAD and Aussie CAD, I'm looking to buy them. So I can see there's a big contrast between Aussie and NZD. And I would expect it, because I'm expecting all the crosses to fall, to be honest. So I do think Euro and Pound will be a lot weaker than Aussie and NZD over the next few weeks, or few days at least anyway. No problem, Yusuf. Have a good weekend as well. Thanks for tuning in, my man. Of course, I will be posting analysis on the weekend, so keep a lookout for that. I'll be on Saturday just recapping this week's price action and, of course, forecasting the next. So do look out for that on the weekend. But as always, guys, make sure you do drop a like if you are enjoying the stream. It does really help out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you're enjoying the content, finding it useful, please be sure to subscribe, like, and of course hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But I do really appreciate each and everyone who have, of course, liked and subscribed to the channel. But yeah, in terms of where we could probably be headed next for a lot of these pairs, I'm going to probably start to scale to the higher time frames now, because a lot of pairs have been pretty flat. I mean, if I go through some of the weekly candle closures, you can see weekly chart stuck at resistance there. Of course, pound USD stuck at resistance there as well. Dollar CAD, of course, stuck at support. I mean, slightly breaking, but overall momentum is dying out. Aussie dollar definitely stuck at resistance. You can see there multiple wicks into this area, and NZD definitely stuck at resistance as well. Although it looks like we're trying to break out this week, but again, NFP is coming in, so I wouldn't judge that candle until it's truly closed, to be honest. In terms of the yen pairs, had a bit of a bullish week, haven't we, for them? So I imagine see some strong candles there. Pound yen, of course, we'll wait to see how that one closes. Dollar yen, which I haven't actually spoke about yet, that's had a bit of a bullish 24, 48 hours, hasn't it? Yeah, I'm not too sure of dollar yen, to be honest. I mean, I'm still looking for the push into the low here, because there is no sign of reversal yet. So I would still be looking for price to do something like this. But I'm not seeing an opportunity to trade it, which of course is the most important thing. Actually, no, I am seeing an opportunity to trade it. It's just I would wait for that support to break, which of course we're nowhere near doing right now. But that would be a nice opportunity. That's what I was discussing at the start of the week. But of course, we've had since then 2 very strong rejections of this level. And of course, we do have some solid resistance above us there as well. So my take on dollar yen is that I'm still pretty bearish on this one. I know USD's been a little bit strong, but I do think the overall direction for USD is still with the bears. I would wait to see that support break at 142.46. I think opportunities beyond that would be very, very nice. If we were to return back to resistance, equally, I still think that's a nice place for a trade, but because we're coming there a third time, it does kind of lower the probability or the confidence I have in the trade, because ideally, I'm looking at this as a head and shoulder pattern, and typically head and shoulder patterns don't have two right shoulders most of the time anyway. The price normally taps into that area, forms the right shoulder, then we're normally on our way. If we were to come back up again, we could still reject and come back down, but I wouldn't be as confident that we're going to break lower. And in fact, if we were to break to the upside, I actually think that could be a very nice opportunity actually. If price was to break through this, I think a retest of that zone could provide some nice buys for a push back into 148.6, which of course is the high there. So really, these are the areas which I want to focus on. This is kind of what I'm calling a range. So staying away from all of that for now, until we can get some opportunities that look like this. And then I think dollar yen could be a pair which I do start to look to trade myself. I think I might drop to like an hourly chart to actually find entries though, but I think the risk reward will make up for it. So yeah, dollar yen, I haven't spoken much about this. It's a bit flat, to be honest. I would still say I'm bearish until we break the high here at 146. If we do that, I will flip the bias around and look for something like that. But at the moment, I'm still looking for price to push lower, which is funny because I'll probably say dollar yen's the only yen pair which I do have a bearish bias on, at least for the time being. Euro yen, I do have a bearish bias on this one too, but I'm looking for a bit more upside first from either one of those two levels there, and then I'll see what shorts I can get. But this is definitely a bit more of an aggressive trade. Again, with the way I trade, I'm normally looking for continuations, but sometimes I will go for slightly more aggressive positions, more counter trend positions that go against the grain, but they have to be in specific conditions. I'm never trying to look to try and catch a market which is pushing very aggressively like this. I'm never trying to look to try and see if I can catch the top of that for the reversal. Absolutely not. If a market is trending to the upside but is very, very corrective, coming to big areas, let's say, this is a massive area of resistance, supply, brief support, resistance, big push down, and let's say we've got a massive uptrend here, and let's say this is like a weekly or a daily chart, and the market's been trending higher, and now we're getting super corrective. So even though that this trend has been going on for a while and it's a bullish trend, but because it's very corrective, I do expect us to break low at some point. So I wouldn't mind trying to call the tops on these type of moves, because I know I'm in a good location, and I know because of how corrective price is moving, I'm expecting a drop anyway. And I'm always very careful about when I do get short as well. I'm not just shorting every opportunity I see. I'm looking for very strong rejection and particular characteristics as well, like a big wick per se. And that's what's going to tempt me into the position. And of course, with the management side of things as well, I'm being very conservative. I'm not trying to be aggressive, push the trade too far, because the grain is against me. And I'm not trying to stay in too long either. It's a sort of situation where I get into a trade, I want price to kind of almost rip in my favor pretty quickly. And if it does push but starts to consolidate, I'd probably just walk away from the position, to be honest, because if you are taking a reversal, you're basically betting that all the momentum in one direction is going to now flip. So if you're in a trade and you're trying to call a top and that momentum hasn't switched around yet, well, then it's just kind of a guessing game. Will we break down or will we push up? Most of the time, we just keep going. When I'm going against the grain, the better trades are when price, not necessarily instantly, but I get into a position and momentum picks off within like 2 or 3 candles after I enter. And then you can manage from there. If things keep going your way, great, you can trail stops or have the bigger targets. Sometimes we have a nice initial reaction, but then the momentum gets lost and price starts to go against you. That's where you can maybe close the trade out manually or even take a break even. But you don't want to sit in them too long and be hopeful that it does go against you, because most of the time it's probably going to hit your stop loss, because again, the trend is not in your favor. So there are more aggressive opportunities, and definitely more opportunities which I've been looking to add to my trading game, because most of the time I'm always looking for just continuation opportunities, which nothing wrong with. But particularly in FX, there are some really good reverse opportunities and some really big ones as well. And some of my bigger positions have come from reversal opportunities, especially when it's kind of pro trend on a higher time frame as well. So for example, for Euro Yen here, I'm looking for a big push down, and I do expect price to eventually break through the lows here. So from a higher time frame perspective, I'm expecting us to push down, but of course, we do have somewhat of an uptrend at the moment. So it's not just I'm looking to short because I'm trying to catch a reversal just for the sake of it. I'm trying to catch a reversal because I do expect this move to happen on a higher time frame. It's just I'm getting in a little bit early rather than waiting for price to completely shift and wait for lower highs and get in somewhere else, which I will still do. That would be the opportunity which I'll probably look to try and find additional entries if things look good. But I will try and go for that reversal if the conditions are right. Like I said, if we're kind of just steamrolling to the upside, then I would avoid that. Thanks, Poppy. What is up? Hope you're well. But I appreciate that. Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, drop a like. It does really help out. And yeah, thank you so much for liking the video if you have, and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already as well. But yeah, reverse opportunities, it's a slippery slope, because if you don't know what you're doing, it's a very easy way just to give your profits back to the market and more. So yeah, it's definitely something you want to practice first before just taking straight away. And like I said, you don't want to take the really aggressive ones. If I can find an example, can't think of it. I mean, I can think of a very, very aggressive one right now, which is silver. Yeah, I wouldn't be trying to call the tops there of silver. Yeah, and again, you would expect we're not going to go in a straight line forever. It's definitely something that price is going to be. I've been lurking all week. What's up, Poppy? Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just want to chill, take it easy. Don't blame you. But yeah, silver, another one which is very, very bullish, very aggressive. Again, I get, people would be looking to try and sell that because you expect the market to be a bit overbought. Therefore, you should see a retracement at some stage, which is true. But what's the probability of you catching the exact top of that? It would be much better if silver starts to slow down, maybe becomes a bit corrective, maybe gives a big double top pattern. Then you've got a little bit more going for you. Still a bit more on the aggressive side of things, because again, momentum is not for you. But you got clear signs of price slowing down, and now you're getting signs of price not breaking the recent high. That puts things really in your favor, and you can probably benefit from that. And again, even these trades are going to fail as well. There's not going to be 100% certainty with every setup like that, but at least the odds are a bit more for you rather than trying to call the top anyway. But yeah, I mean, for silver, it's actually a market which I'm not looking to short because there's no reason to right now. It's not like there's a longer term downtrend that's heading towards heading lower, but price is just having a bigger pullback. This market is bullish on the higher time frames, expanding to the monthly, dropping all the way to the daily, 4 hour, hourly. Pretty much all the major time frames are pointing up. So there's no reason why I would want to be selling silver, and the only thing I'll be looking to do is buy. So that's another key element to focus on as well. If you are looking for reversals, you're not just selling it for reversal's sake. It's because you're expecting a move for whatever reason. It might be that the higher time frame trend is down, and you're looking to capitalize on that. That's the majority of the reasons why I would look for a reversal. But yeah, silver is definitely something I'll be looking to buy, absolutely not sell. But yeah, I mean, of course, with NFP coming out later today, that's just what the focus will be, of course. As I said, I do have a position on an Aussie CHF, which again, not directly impacted by the news, but I would expect to see some type of reaction, of course. I'll keep you guys up to date with that. I'm not looking to try and enter any other trades at the moment. Yeah, off the top of my head, there's no other position. Yeah, no other position at the moment. So I think I'll just keep an eye on Aussie CHF, see what happens with the dollar, see how we settle afterwards, and then I'll make up my mind from then afterwards. I mean, for the most part, I do have a bearish bias on the dollar. That's still where I expect price to go, but of course we are doing a pretty good job at respecting support right now, so it's definitely made things a little bit awkward. What level is this? 98.742. So yeah, if that support level can break there, should be looking good for the dollar back into the lows at 97.9. But maybe NFP might give us that move. But even if we do rally, as long as we don't take up this high, I stay bearish. So if dollar comes out strong for whatever reason, and we push up strong like this, well, I would still be looking for us to form that lower high and come right back down again, as long as this high stays intact. If price was to rip through this, then yeah, I'll rethink things. Of course, that's a really big move, so it's probably going to take at least a week for that to happen. Even if NFP is very, very bullish, it will still probably take a while for that to happen. So it's still a long way away. But if we were to do that in the next few days, let's say, then yeah, I would rethink things and probably look at a push back to the high here. At that point, you probably see Euro go and break through this low here as well, which is the corresponding low. Price was to do something like that, then yeah, I would be looking at Euro selling off again there too. But nope, Euro I'm still bullish on. We might go for a bit of a correction here. You can see Euro, of course, failing at highs as well. Yes, a decent rejection, but doesn't really change anything in terms of the grand scheme of things. Still seeing higher lows, so maybe we do something like that. Who knows, but for the most part, support is still holding. I do expect us to break through that resistance level pretty well. So yeah, USD still bearish. The only one I would be a bit skeptical of would be pound, because that is a pretty solid rejection we got this morning, and price did kind of break through this trend line here. It's not the most accurate trend line in the world, but we just about poked our heads through that, so that does kind of put me off any opportunities there for pound buys. I mean, I like this idea, but again, we need to break through the high for that to come into action. I like this opportunity as well, but again, I'll keep it short and simple with pound because, as I said earlier, the market's quite stretched, so I wouldn't be looking to try and hold this trade for too long anyway. Back to the highs, I'll probably just call it a day there. So yeah, pound is probably the only pound pair only USD pair, sorry, which I'm not really liking for USD weakness. Dollar CHF, haven't spoken about this one, but I still think this is likely to keep falling as well. Expecting a push back into the lows. Very similar price action to the DXY. I'm looking for us to push back into 0.80434 as well. I think if you can see a solid break of this support level, which price has been kind of back and forth for a while now, but if you can see price break through that level very well, I think on the flip, that'll be a decent place for a short. Kind of got this trend line in the market there as well. So dollar CHF still more downside likely, and then hopefully you can take advantage of some setups off the back of that, on the 15-second time frame. But yeah, you can see the overall trajectory is still very bearish, and we're also respecting a very, very significant level on the weekly chart, which as long as we stay below, I do think we will continue to fall. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on Aussie CHF. That's where my focus will be. No other position I'm looking to get involved. Of course, we're going to see what's going to happen with USD. I will be live again later today with Trader Nick on his channel. That will be shortly after the NFP has happened, so probably after the dust has settled a little bit. That'll be at 2:45 UK time, so about 2 hours and 45 minutes from now. I'll be live on his channel. We'll probably discuss what's happened with the news and where we can go from there. So if you guys are free this afternoon, make sure you check out the stream. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. Interesting day, Tony. Interesting day. Hopefully, opportunities. That's all I'm interested in. I don't care what really happens with NFP, as long as we can get the market moving, find some opportunities afterwards. But guys, really do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Like I said, later I'll be live on his channel, so find me there if you guys are free. As always, next week I'll be live again every day, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So if you want to see more analysis, see what we got going on next week, check out the streams. We will be there. On Saturday, I'll upload the weekly analysis as always. So if you need some guidance or just want to see what I'm looking to trade next week, go check out that video. But guys, really do appreciate you tuning into another live stream. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Be safe with the news, of course. Drop a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell too if you haven't done it already. It does really help out. But guys, have a great day. I'll catch you all in the next one.